So now we're going to talk about the three components that make up intersectionality, okay? And for today's discussion, we will be using women as the examples, except for the third one. We're going to use somebody else for that example, okay? So the three components, the first one is structural, okay? And it entails or lists the ways in which classism, sexism, and racism work together to oppress women and women of color. Okay? Then the third, and we've been talking about that one, right? You have to take all of these different components into consideration when viewing the different types of discrimination and oppression that a woman feels. Again, we're using women as the example, okay? So then the second component is political, and it talks about the two systems that work together to subjugate and simultaneously grant privilege. We talked about that one as well when we said that intersectionality explains how a system, white patriarchy, allows for privilege while also oppressing. Using women as the example, right? Women are oppressed. However, they're split into two categories. The first category is white women. The second category is women of color. Now, although both are being oppressed, the needs of the white women are placed over the needs of women of color. Oppression, privilege, okay? Then the final component is representational. Now, representational says that there needs to be representation of marginalized groups. There needs to be representation of women of color, of queer individuals, of people with disabilities. There needs to be representation in the media, in politics, of marginalized groups. Representational intersectionality stresses the importance of this type of representation. And I'm going to use my grandson as the example. I went back home to visit my baby, Nana's baby. And of course it was movie night, the first night Nana got there. And I said, "What do you want to watch, baby?" And he said he wanted to watch Spider-Man. I didn't even think twice. Didn't even cross my mind to ask him which one. I just put on the one with Tom Holland. He's Spider-Man, right? My grandson looked at me like I was crazy and said, "Nana, who is that man?" I was like, "That's Peter Parker. That's Spider-Man." He said, "No, Nana, I want to see Miles." And I'm like, first of all, Nana forgot. I'm so sorry. Secondly, that's my baby. Because it clicked in my head that he was going to grow up with two Spider-Mans. I only had one. He's going to grow up with Peter Parker, our traditional white Spider-Man, but he's also going to grow up with a Spider-Man that looks like him in Miles Morales. Representation matters. There are little girls in this world, little girls of color, who are going to see Kamala Harris as the Vice President of the United States of America and say, "I can do that too." There are dark-skinned girls who will look at Viola Davis and say, "I'm beautiful too. I can be a great actress too." Representation matters.